this episode of Mythbusters.
I'm king of the world!
We're diving into the depths.
Holy crap!
We might as well have been holding handfuls of chum.
Shaping up and shipping out. To get the inside scoop on the myths that are gung-ho for H2O.
That made our dive master kind of nervous for some reason. I don't know why.
As we count down the top 12 wettest and wildest moments in Mythbusters history.
It is true that I wet myself during the course of testing that story.
It was disgusting.
Who are the Mythbusters? Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman.
Almost too exciting.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Grant Imahara.
Save yourself!
Carrie Byron.
We're busting out of here, see?
Whoops.
And Tori Belleci.
Somebody order some exploding pants?
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. For this Mythbusters Dirty Dozen special, just add water.
What are we waiting for?
Just one moment.
Only one?
Okay, they're late, so I guess I'll tell you. We're counting down the top 12 best Mythbusters moments that involve water.
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 So anything that we've done that involves us being around, in, or under the water.
Exactly. It gives us a chance to celebrate and scrutinize our best Mythbusters watery escapades.
And a chance to see Jamie swim in syrup again.
Precisely.
So what's with the pool?
I kind of told Grant and Tori we're having a pool party.
This is the pool party? Lame.
Let's start the show.
And first up in the Wet and Wild ride,
We've sunk boats. We've raised boats. We've nearly drowned in cars. But we should really kick this off with Water Slide Wipeout.
The Myth is an online video that a fan sent us that shows some guys having built a massive water slide on the side of this hill. And this guy slides down it, hits the edge of the ramp, flies through the air for this impossibly long length of time, and then lands safely in this tiny little swimming pool like 100 feet away. That was our task, to test that.
with the guys not willing to risk their lives on sticking the landing,
Splat.
they decided to test this slide over water. But first, they had to build it.
Isn't this great? It's like Monster Truck Fantasy Camp.
The building of this ramp was positively Egyptian. I mean, I'm down at the bottom, putting together this wood frame and truss work that will hold the plywood together for the actual ramp part, while Jamie's up top feeding this massive hundreds of foot long piece of plywood that he's screwing together up top and slowly rolling down towards me.
It looks great. You really don't get the sense from a camera how steep something is like you do when you're really there. And let me tell you, that was one steep slide. It was so steep that you really had to struggle to walk up or down it.
And the first item to take a ride on the slide was a humble roll of duct tape.
Can I get another roll of duct tape?
Nothing goes to waste on Mythbusters. Jamie went and got that roll of duct tape, and I think we're still using it today.
Finally, with the mega whoosh complete, it was time for its first human test.
I started from halfway up the ramp, figuring that would be safe, and it actually was almost the most dangerous thing we did in the whole thing.
He wasn't going very fast, and so he kind of dropped like a stone right off the end of it. Which gave me a bit of a sinking feeling because I knew there wasn't much depth of water there, which meant he could have gotten hurt.
I'm okay.
But if at first you don't succeed, try again. Higher.
We found out once we started testing that the lubrication we put on the slide was extremely important because if you didn't do it exactly right, you weren't going to get enough speed and you wouldn't go far enough off the end of the ramp. Adam figured the best way to do this was to just dump a massive bucket full of it onto the slide.
But after a face full of foam,
I couldn't see a thing. I hit the ramp line.
I figured we'd be better off by putting it on with a sprayer.
Adam agreed that Jamie had the lubrication sussed.
I told Jamie that I thought the sprayers were a stupid idea, and I was so sure we weren't going to use them to grease the ramp that I told him that if we did use them, I'd pay him $100. I hope he forgets.
I turned out to be right, and I got $100 for my trouble.
But on day 2, it was accuracy, not lubrication, giving Adam a headache.
I landed wrong, and when you land wrong flying 70 feet through the air underwater, you get an instant headache. By the time of the 3rd jump, when we actually had our target out, I was really cranky. So our safety guy, stunt coordinator Nick Plachey, comes up to the top of the ramp and he says to me, "Are you a stuntman, man? It's not here, it's here. You do all the work before you leave the ramp. The only thing I want you thinking, man, when you hit that water is, does my director Alice want another take? You know how to do this. I'll see you at the bottom." And then he turned around and went down to the bottom of the ramp.
And 3, 2,
I was like, oh my God, I'm in a movie. I'm in a movie about a guy about to do a key jump.
1.
The thing was, his talk worked perfectly. My 3rd jump, I landed perfectly 50-degree angled, feet in the center of our target, didn't even disturb the actual target.
It's the bullseye that rocketed this incredible Wet n Wild moment into our countdown.
It couldn't have gone better.
And next, it's an explosive boom and bust. No Mythbusters countdown would ever be complete without a blast. And explosives and water make one heck of a team.
I don't get that excited about using explosives to just destroy things.
Wow.
I do find it really interesting when you can use them to do specific work. And so that would mean my favorite water explosion would have to involve safe cracking. The story here was that you could open a safe without destroying the contents by filling it with water first.
Oh, stop, pull it out.
We got a safe, we filled it with water, we put explosives in it, and we blew it up.
3, 2, 1.
Look at the door! Wow! That worked beautifully!
I'd like to point out that former FBI Special Agent Frank Doyle offered us all a steak dinner if it worked. So convinced was he that it would not. And we've never yet gotten our steak dinner, Frank.
But for the ultimate combination of water and explosives, it's over to Grant.
So the black powder shark myth comes from the movie Deep Blue Sea. And in that, the hero has to kill this highly intelligent, very deadly, very large shark. And what he does is empties a number of flares into a canister.
There should be enough black powder in this flare to give us 2.5 sticks of dynamite.
He fires it at the shark. That's connected by a steel cable back to him, which he then touches to the ends of a battery, and boom. Yeah! The shark blows up.
Yep, and first things first, they needed a big fish to fry. So Tori created Hugo, the giant foam shark.
So often on the show, our schedule doesn't allow us to take time to make it exactly how you want it. But this one magical time on Mythbusters, I was allowed to sculpt this shark. And it turned out better than I thought it would.
He put so much time and love into building that big shark. That was a great idea. How you getting back on the boat?
I haven't thought about that yet.
He even named it. He might even kind of crossed the line a little bit.
Add a shark. When we went to location, we had to strap Hugo to the top of our truck. And so we're driving with this huge foam rubber shark strap. People were just like freaking out on the road.
Finally, at the lake, with Hugo ready to become shark foam soup, the guys flared up their flares.
So what we actually found when we tested this is when you set off that amount of black powder underwater,
Ready to fire in 3, 2, 1.
pretty much nothing happens.
It did no damage at all.
So we did what we usually do. We called in our friend Frank Doyle, and he brought 400 pounds of explosives to actually execute the final experiment.
It's going to be magnificent.
Magnificent compared to the previous damp squib.
We're waiting for this explosion to go off. We give it 3, 2, 1. And then nothing happens.
Oh, this is every bomb tech's worst nightmare.
Oh, God. All of us, I think, we're starting to get a little heart flutter because the bomb squad had to take a boat all the way in and find out what went wrong.
This is like the worst experiment ever.
Imagine trying to problem solve a bomb of that size not going off. I would not want to be the person in charge. Frank Doyle definitely earned his stripes that day. He's a badass.
Indeed he is. And after a gut-wrenching 40-minute wait with the charges reset,
Clear the hole!
it was time for take 2.
The hole!
3, 2, 1.
And there's this huge tower of water. I just shot into the air, pieces of Hugo everywhere. We got down to the lake, and it's just foam rubber shark pieces floating all over. Oh, Hugo!
And for Tori, although Hugo was Hugone, at least he'll always have the high speeds. There's water, water everywhere. Because we're counting down our most memorable myths in the drink. At number 10, the guys slip into something a little more uncomfortable.
Obviously, when you're tackling myths that are wet or wild, or especially both, it means that you're gonna get wet. And often, when you're gonna get wet, unfortunately, it means you're gonna get cold, too.
And that's all down to the heat capacity of water.
Water happens to have a very high specific heat capacity. Oh, God. That means it takes a lot of energy to warm it up. That also means that rivers, lakes, oceans pretty much always feel cold when you get in them, unless you're in the tropics.
Yep, experimenting in water can get very cold very fast.
Ah, puppies, puppies, kittens, kittens, baby hippos, babies!
But the most hypothermic myth ever tested will surprise you.
Honestly, the coldest and wettest I think we've ever been has to be swimming in syrup.
The question here was whether or not you could swim faster in syrup than you could in regular water.
Whoa! The reason it was so cold is twofold. One, it was winter in San Francisco, which is not cold by most people's standards, but when you're swimming in syrup, it's pretty frickin' cold. The second reason is because the syrup is not something you can simply dry off of yourself. You have to be rinsed off. You have to be rinsed off in water that we could never get warmer than slightly lukewarm.
It may have been freezing, but what really warmed the cockles of Adam's heart was Jamie's swimming.
Jamie's technique at swimming is kind of like his technique at building something, in which he thinks through every step as he's going, which makes him a little bit plodding as a swimmer, because I believe he's actually doing this. Raise arms up, lift out of water, put arms down, swim forward, raise arms up, lift out of water, he's like a robot working through a set of instructions.
I was actually surprised how difficult it was for him to swim. I thought he descended from the great walrus tribe, so I figured he'd be a great swimmer. The great walrus tribe. I'm gonna get killed for that one.
Next up is a moment all about dunking and diving. Our intrepid Mythbusters have gone undercover, underwater, for many a myth.
It's party time.
But when it comes to strange suits and underwater adventures, the macabre maritime myth of a diver sucked into his diving helmet takes the grisly prize. With Carrie on maternity leave, it was down to Tori to create the diver.
For our experiments, a lot of times we use pork as human analog. However, in this particular situation, a pig is not going to fit inside of a deep-sea diving suit. So what I had to do was make Meatman.
I present to you my creation, Meatman. Ooh, I almost threw up.
Meatman was disgusting. I mean, I had a love for him because I built the guy, but he was rotting pork meat. At one point, I think the refrigerator truck got shut off, so it spent a night unrefrigerated, and the next day it was just, the rotting flesh was unbearable.
How many Mythbusters does it take to get Meatman in a diving suit?
With their old-time diving suit completely porked out, it was time for Meatman to meet his deep-sea fate.
If you see any sharks, play dead.
At 300 feet below the surface, with their underwater camera poised, Grant cut the cord.
3, 2, 1.
One thing we didn't foresee, the suit was filled with the stench of rotting flesh. And so when Grant vented the suit, all that air came rushing into the boat with us. I mean, it was nauseating.
What we started to see was the body of the suit kind of compressing slowly. And the level of juices that are in there starts to rise.
Whoa, look at what's happening to
And then at one moment, everything just gets to the point where it all goes.
Holy crap! Meatman is in the helmet!
And you see all of the guts squashed up against the glass. It was disgusting.
It worked so well that it's also a demonstration of why you should never lend the Mythbusters anything.
We borrowed a set of antique diving equipment.
His stomach is inside his helmet.
We promised the guy, we're like, oh no, it's totally gonna be fine. It's gonna be great. Don't worry about it. The helmet was not in returnable condition.
Okay, this was a spectacular experiment, but I have to say, I didn't mind missing it. 2 reasons, Meatman and cleaning the suit.
Next on the Wet n Wild Splashdown is a myth as cold as ice.
One of the cool things about water is that it is relatively easy to change its state and work with it in all 3 states.
Shooting at ice.
It freezes to a solid at 32 degrees. It boils to a gas at 212 degrees.
Look at that.
And we have worked with it in all 3 states, although I have to state that in its frozen solid form, it might be the most fun.
But despite all their stone-cold antics,
Bye-bye.
this is their most amazing ice-capade.
So the idea behind the myth of blue ice is that there's a leaky toilet on a commercial airliner. That leaky toilet allows a giant chunk of ice to form on the side of the jet. That chunk of ice breaks off and punches a hole into someone's house.
How do you capture the forming of blue ice on the outside of a moving airplane at altitude? I mean, it's almost impossible.
Impossible, unless you have an open invitation to Geektopia.
The Icing Research Tunnel is a world-class research facility. They test spacecraft, fighter jets, commercial aircraft, and here we come in with our rinky-dink thing.
Does this mean I'm the R2-D2?
Oh boy.
But you know what? What makes them great is that they're like, absolutely, we will help you out because we want to get to the bottom of this too. How can you not love a set of guys whose motto is, we freeze to please?
However, getting to the bottom of this myth was not as quick as you might think.
Fire it up.
All right, let's go. Fire it up.
Maximum warp. It takes hours to cool down the air, to chill it to operating temperature. We started our experiment at 8 a.m. We did not get out of there until 1 a.m. the next day. So it turns out to be a 17-hour day.
But those hours were well spent because this myth was looking plausible.
Oh, look how quick the ice is building up.
The ice formed so perfectly that all the NASA guys could not believe how well it worked. And they even told us, they're like, we have had tests that had been planned for years.
It's approaching soccer ball size.
And like, you guys throw this crazy thing together.
Oh, we're getting bigger chunks breaking off.
Come here, do the test, and it works. I mean, they were just saying, sometimes it just shows you simple is better.
Indeed, as jumping out of a plane with a block of simulated blue ice turned out to be. And with our daredevil camera trained on the ice plummet, Carrie had to do her own camera work.
You know, I'd like to say that there was a lot of artful skill in trying to film myself on my skydive on the way down.
I see the ice right there, and it's heading near the target. That's great.
I just got lucky. The camera just happened to be in the right place because I was mostly enjoying the view.
It stayed intact.
Just as the myth predicted.
Check it out. It dug itself into the ground.
However, for those of you watching the skies,
I really don't think that the chances are high it's going to happen. The chain of events is a perfect storm of circumstances. I think it's going to be a pretty rare event, but still possible.
and from plummeting ice to the dangers of letting off steam.
At the other end of the spectrum from ice is gaseous water, and that is steam. And steam has absolutely given us some of our most choice moments on the show.
From the Archimedes cannon to exploding fire extinguishers, there's been a lot of hot and steamy Mythbusters moments.
You'd think, actually, that a shoo-in for the best moment would be the water heater rocket. And there's a good reason for that, because water heaters failing is pure, unadulterated awesome.
Unadulterated awesome, because you never know when they'll blow.
Right when you kind of relax and think everything's going to be okay, that's when the vessel decides to rupture.
But surprisingly, explosions pale in comparison to the extreme steam power of this.
Now, the steam-powered myth that gets a nod from me as my favorite has to be steam machine gun. This is a mythical machine supposedly developed during the American Civil War that was a steam-powered rotary machine gun that centrifugally delivered ball bearings at a deadly rate of speed. We built one.
Yes, they did. And stoking their big bad steam machine, those unpredictable water heaters.
It was during the build of the steam machine gun that Jamie and I got a truly visceral understanding of the power of steam. We had powered it up with air, and we had seen it function with air.
That feels great.
And then we plumbed it to steam. And the difference blew our freaking minds. We had gone from brrr to like this, and we were like, oh my God, we put barriers between us and it. It was absolutely terrifying to stand remotely near that thing when it was going at a full clip.
Oh, wow. I can see where it hit. I'm very pleased and terrified.
The steam machine gun was one of those devices that was so over the top and kind of out of control. You might think that it was too dangerous to actually take on.
This one's for distance and for glory.
3, 2, 1.
But, you know, we'd done the math. We'd made sure that we had the overpressure relief valves on it. We had very sturdy mechanical rigs and guards on it. But still, you know, you get stuff like that going really, really fast. It's kind of messed up.
Messed up, but ultimately busted.
Soldier,
Sir, yes, sir.
what do you think of the steam machine gun as a weapon of war?
Sir, it's not very effective, sir.
Okay, let's get out of here.
We're halfway through our splash-tacular countdown, but there's plenty more myths in the sea. And now for a moment in the swim.
Well, swimming pools have often played a key role in our myths. They're perfect for us. They're clear water.
Swim harder.
They're often quite accessible. You can pull vehicles right up to them, but honestly, I pity our researchers and the phone calls they have to make. They got to call people up with a working swimming pool that's in perfect working order and say, hi, can we sink a car in your swimming pool? We promise that it's mostly clean. Hello? Hello? I think the most impressive things we've ever done in a pool is bullets fired into water.
1. The question about bullets fired into water was whether you could dive into the water to protect yourself from somebody that was shooting at you.
The original plan was to test this in the shop with a tank.
1. The thing was, while pistol rounds were fine, a deer slug shot out of a shotgun has many times more energy behind it. 3. So that was a little too much for that tank. 1. It cracked, it dumped water all over the shop, and it was time to move on to a pool.
We actually found a pool that was about to be resurfaced, so that if we did embed a bullet in its side, it was okay because they were about to drain it and, you know, recover the whole thing.
After testing all the guns in their arsenal,
This is the black powder rifle. Deer slug in the shotgun. 1. This is the M1 Grant 30 caliber.
it turned out that a depth of 3 feet would be safe for a swimmer.
There's your problem.
We were breaking for lunch, and we're sitting around the pool and these tables full of guns eating sandwiches. And there's literally like 5 or 6 handguns and 2 or 3 rifles. It's a full armory. We start to hear sirens in the distance. And someone says what everyone's thinking, which is, do you think they're coming for us? And I go, I think we can hold them off for at least an hour.
But the ultimate big fish into a small pool was the 50 cal.
This is a gun that shoots Bugs Bunny-sized banana bullets.
This is the M1 Grant.
Yeah.
This is the 50 caliber.
This kills you. This kills you and everyone else in the room.
These are really powerful, long-range weapons, and they're just not made to fire at things, especially not a pool, at close range. So I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, let's just be prepared to pack and get out of here really fast. Hopefully we'll be gone before the pool fully drains.
Okay, eyes and ears. This is the 50 caliber at 10 feet.
The water did stop the bullet quite nicely.
3, 2, 1.
But the bullet did put most of the pool on the roof. It was raining in there for about 5 minutes afterwards.
There is no bullet in the ballistics gel.
So, taking cover underwater was confirmed.
It expended all its energy within 3 feet and became totally non-lethal.
And that gave Adam ideas.
Once we found out during that episode how fast the bullets lost all their energy in the water, I wanted to finish the episode with Jamie in full scuba gear at the bottom of the pool while I just unloaded a full clip of bullets at him, but for some reason the insurance company didn't like that.
And at number 5 is the most disturbing Wet n Wild myth ever. Water torture.
Tori and Scotty are gonna make me cry today. Okay, so the water torture myth is that dripping water on your head works sort of like how you see in nature where a waterfall can wear away at a rock, where it could drive you completely insane. Now, presented with this myth, did anybody really think about the fact that if we were successful, we were torturing ourselves?
I imagine I'm gonna fall asleep on this thing.
Could you fall asleep?
In the beginning, testing this myth seemed straightforward and pretty lighthearted, considering the subject matter.
So to test Chinese water torture, Adam was roped in, and he served as a control, which meant that he wasn't restrained, but he did have to hold the same position for a long period of time.
The fly is definitely much worse than the water.
So he did what any logical person would do. He wore his adult diapers.
Oh.
Lest anyone forget, there is no dignity on Mythbusters.
Yes, it is true that I wet myself during the course of testing that story. I was in the chair for so long, and eventually I could no longer restrain my own bladder. Yeah.
Oh my God!
We learned something really interesting on the show, which is that adult diapers, they're not like baby diapers. Adult diapers are for leakage, not a full pee. So I guess that's something to remember.
Indeed. And based on Adam's experience, Carrie wasn't too concerned when it came to her turn.
I can't even imagine this being for real. I'm around people that I'm secure with, that I totally trust and I know that are gonna get me out of this. I have an ambulance standing by with paramedics. If this was for real, I would be screaming and struggling. I'd probably have bloody wrists and ankles by now.
But as it turned out, Carrie had seriously underestimated the power of that slow and steady drip.
Are you getting upset, or do you feel like you're gonna panic?
Extreme.
Do you feel like you're gonna fall apart and go to pieces?
I actually don't want to do this test right now.
All right, let's get her out.
No, it's fine. Just give me a second, okay?
Yeah, I did tell them to continue even after they said to take me out. For me, I was trying to see it like climbing a mountain where, you know, it's hard, but you can keep going on, and it was really early on in my Mythbusters career.
I just had a sudden claustrophobia attack. That's what that was a minute ago.
And I think I really wanted to just prove myself. I didn't want to be a wimp and take myself out of the game. I think I was trying to walk it off. Probably not the best idea.
I think you've proven yourself. I think you probably could stay here longer, but I'm actually gonna let you loose.
Okay.
1.5 hours later, it was clear they needed to not only end Carrie's ordeal, but to stop this myth altogether.
And normally when we're doing a myth, you have to endure a lot of pain in order to gather enough data so that way you could either bust or confirm a myth. But in that particular situation, it was so unbearable that we had to call it.
We're often asked to revisit myths, do them a little differently. I can guarantee you, I will never, never do water torture again.
Next, we're taking a walk on the wet and wild side. From kissing dolphins.
That is so cool.
Just a little clammy, a little wet, but I mean, you're making out with a fish. What do you want?
To reanimating dead fish.
Frankenfish was pretty much like he sounds. I mean, I took a fish and I brought it to life using electricity. And then I shot it.
The Mythbusters have learned a lot from their brushes with aquatic life.
I did find out that if you're holding on to a penguin, you have to wash your hands because you can get salmonella.
But one experience sticks in Adam's mind.
One of my personal favorites for the best aquatic animal myths has to be one of the early ones, octopus pregnancy.
The question here was whether or not you could accidentally swallow the fertilized egg of an octopus and bring it fully to term in your stomach.
And to test that, they needed a close encounter of the octopus kind.
Oh, wow. Now, it turns out and I've met several octopi since then, have skin that octopi love.
Oh, that is so cool.
They love me.
Oh, you must taste really good. Because he's really interested in you.
We got along really well.
Yeah, he's very excited.
I did have to explain to my wife why I had circular hickeys all the way up my arm, but there is nothing quite like getting so much affection from a cephalopod. It is amazing. It even squirted water playfully at me during our time together. I'll never forget that.
But after all that, it turned out that the warmth and acidity of a stomach would prevent any exotic egg pregnancy.
The real killers were the acid and the high temperature.
It's absolutely ridiculous. We've busted it wide open.
And the octopus really liked your hand.
I think I'm actually in love.
At number 3, it's all aboard for some boat destruction.
Where there's water, there are boats. And where there are Mythbusters, there's destruction.
Just boom!
So if you put the two together, you've got boat destruction.
Yep, from Titanic to Bond.
Oh my God!
The Mythbusters have busted boats aplenty. But one cursed craft looms in their memories.
We have a lot of frustrating moments on the show, but one that sticks out in my mind is Bifurcated Boat.
So Bifurcated Boat is about a boat that got split down the middle on a pole. Now, obviously, you would think we'd test this with a boat on water, but we couldn't, because having a powered boat on water that would potentially sink would create an ecological hazard.
Are you trying to hold my hands?
No, I'm just trying to hold on to something.
So really, the best option that we had was to do this on land.
Standing out!
Testing this myth out of the water may have been good for the environment, but not for our Mythbusters.
From the very beginning, things started to go wrong. Let's start with the weather.
I'm so over this one. I'm pretty much over this one.
Welding in the rain. You complete the circuit when your gloves get wet, and we were welding while constantly going, ah. I was getting shocked all day long. I swear to God, I had a twitch for like 3 days.
So these are chains connected to the tow truck. Got our shackle. This is a breakaway rope for safety. And then the cable.
And then there was the instant of the blue rope.
3,
With the light
2,
fading and time running out,
go.
10 miles per hour.
the breakaway broke.
Did we lose the cable? Cable broke.
And so apparently did the team.
So for all the other things where we tow something big into something else and it crashes, we use a breakaway rope. And, you know, there's a standard one that we've been using, which is a blue marine rope.
Grant's sitting there and he's like, yeah, Tori gave me this piece of rope. We always use blue rope, not this stuff.
But on this particular one, Tori really didn't want to use that. He wanted to use this.
Grant says one thing, Tori says another thing.
Moments before that, I showed him the rope and he was like, yeah, that'll work. So I don't understand what happened between that moment and that moment.
I think what we're gonna do is go back to what we used to use that was working.
Dude, we've never used the blue rope.
We always use the blue rope. Yes, we do.
Not for the breakaway.
Yes, we do. No, we don't.
See, I think that's the problem is we each have a different recollection of what happened.
You ask Jamie.
All I know is to this day, someone in the office will yell, "We always use the blue rope."
15 miles per hour.
On day 2, with the blue rope controversy behind them, the team tried again. And again.
Well, it didn't bifurcate, but it was still pretty cool.
But nothing could get the mythity split to split.
So what we decided to do is take the crane, raise up the boat as high as it could go, maybe like 90 feet, and drop it nose first.
Go, 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 go!
It smashed onto the tarmac. We were like, yeah!
Just when we thought we were done and we were going to take our revenge on the bifurcated boat, apparently the bifurcated boat had other plans and took revenge on us.
We are in so much trouble.
Yeah, we're kind of in trouble.
I would rather jump off the Empire State Building and have my scrotum get caught on a nail than ever retest bifurcated boat.
It was just altogether a really disastrous experiment.
Coming in at number 2, our unforgettable encounters with nature's deadliest catch.
We've done so many shark myths, it is absolutely impossible to pick one that's the all-time favorite.
Ow! Wow! Something just touched me!
So we're all gonna do this individually.
Yep, just when they thought it was safe to go back in the water,
Oh my lord!
he was like, "Rrrr." The Mythbusters are reliving their most memorable shark moments.
Yeah!
And to kick us off is Adam's favorite, straight from the shark's mouth.
This is my new favorite thing we've ever made.
I didn't even have a scuba license when we started doing this show. And the amount of exotic and amazing diving I've gotten to do with sharks and with other creatures has been unparalleled.
Just to see if I can get the sharks more excited, I'm going to commence urinating in my wetsuit, okay?
And yet, my favorite shark moment on the show does not involve a real-life shark. It involves our robo-shark.
Dude, it's so perfect.
That thing, that robot is not only one of the most beautiful things we've ever built.
It's time to go swimming.
It's time for his first meal.
Both beautiful in its execution and beautiful to watch it move in the water.
Go.
It's like the best toy ever. But seriously, being in its jaws while it's thrashing me about trying to poke its eyes out. It really satisfies something inside of me, like this early 7-year-old Adam's desire to be in an action movie.
Adam's creature feature was impressive, but Jamie's most memorable moment was dicing with danger in a dinghy.
The idea here was that a fish that had been wounded would thrash around and attract the attention of sharks. And so, of course, I decided to test this by getting into an inflatable toy boat.
Okay, flapping fish.
And going out into the middle of a bunch of sharks and slapping my oars to see whether it attracted them more.
Come on!
Oh, this is a definite bite. Attempt to get on the flapping fish.
Hey!
It did.
Yeah!
Of course, that made our dive master kind of nervous for some reason. I don't know why, but I was having a great old time.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
It was one of those things that you just don't see that every day, at least not and live through it.
Stirring up a shark frenzy in an inflatable was crazy.
Oh.
But for our intrepid trio, one moment was so terrifying, they all picked it.
Now we're testing the myth, do flashlights attract sharks? Now it's obvious you can't test that in the daylight, so we had to do night dives.
See you back on the surface. Try not to get eaten.
Now night diving alone is scary. Night dives with sharks, it's terrifying.
During the day, it's fine. I mean, you can see the sharks, they can see you. But at night, all bets are off.
It's a little scary down here.
You can't see anything down there. They have all the advantages, and you're pretty much bait.
That's 2 sharks. I see 3 sharks. I got a lot of activity down here.
We were in the dark. We were at depth.
Definitely interested in this light. It's creeping me out.
We might as well have been holding handfuls of chum.
Holy crap.
The sharks were just circling.
They got so aggressive, they actually came right into my face. I had to push one away with the flashlight.
Oh my God.
All of a sudden, the dive master gets this look in his face, and he gives everybody the signal to get back on the boat. When he does that, your blood runs cold.
I was the last to get back onto the boat, and I was like, what's going on? Why are we getting onto the boat? And he's like, oh, yeah, tiger shark came around. So, you know, that chainmail you're wearing wouldn't help. Snaps your arm right off. I got on the boat so fast, I think I might have actually leapt out of the water onto the boat.
There's no doubt that during all their encounters,
I guess they're hungry today.
these infamous fish have terrified our hosts.
Why the hell are we doing this?
But they've also come to respect them.
There's one more thing I gotta say, and that is that we and a lot of other shows make a big drama about sharks and how dangerous they are and everything. But the reality is that more people die in their bathrooms by like slipping and falling and hitting themselves on the head on the toilet or something than are killed by sharks. And yet we're killing sharks by the millions for stuff like shark fin soup or some other stupid thing. So let's stop doing that, okay? Sharks are really cool.
Folks, we're gonna need a bigger boat because this is our wettest and wildest moment. After the spills, chills, and thrills, we're ending with an ingenious build.
Now, it may be because Jamie is a salty sea dog of salty sea dogs, and I just like making anything I can. We love making our own boats.
Hurry up, they're coming.
The Alcatraz escape boat was made out of raincoats and was inflatable. The duct tape boat was made out of duct tape, of course. And the air cylinder speedboat was made out of a speedboat that was powered by air cylinders.
I mean, it didn't do anything really important, but it was cool looking.
But shiver me timbers if this isn't the most novel boat build of all.
Drum roll, please. the Pycreet boat. Pycreet is something that had been on Jamie's mental list for years before we tested it. And then we were asked to go back to Alaska a second time to do another Alaska special. And then Jamie mentioned the Pycreet boat. And it was one of those moments where we all realized instantly, this is the myth we have to test.
This is Pycreet. Aircraft carriers, huh? The myth here was based on an idea that somebody had around World War II that you could build an aircraft carrier out of sawdust and water.
Sawdust and water, but with a typically Mythbusters twist.
We stumbled upon newspaper as an ideal replacement for sawdust.
I love wet newspaper.
Especially for building a shell boat like the one we finally built.
Yep, for our origami swamis, newspaper was the material of choice.
The challenge in building the Pycreet boat was in the design, because we had about a week to put together a boat from scratch, which, even if you're using normal materials, would be quite a challenge, and these were anything but normal materials.
We've got about 15,000 local Alaskan newspapers that we've got to unfold and soak in order to build our boat.
With the kids at Ketchikan High taking care of the paperwork, all Adam and Jamie had to do was craft the scoop of the century.
We're going to be layering in the newspapers, layer over layer, like the shingles of a roof, so that all the open sides of the newspaper point away from the direction of travel.
I feel like I'm working in a swamp.
After a back-breaking build, the boat was put on ice.
It's a nice boat, and it's a nice boat. Get it?
I got it.
And the Mythbusters were ready for launch. But would it sail or become yesterday's news?
Okay, you and I are pushing. Ready?
Yeah.
It's funny that Alcatraz and the Pycreet boat both have moments that are quite similar.
Ah! Look at that!
The very first time we placed each of those boats in the water, we weren't sure whether there'd be total failure.
You go, Jamie. It's all you, buddy. You're the man, baby. Come on, baby. Oh, yeah!
Or maybe it would last a little while.
Do you realize what this is? The maiden voyage of yesterday's news. Ice and newspaper. Let's go.
In neither case did we expect the boat to be as seaworthy as it turned out to be.
When I put that boat in the water, I knew I had a choice. I could either take it easy and try not to break the thing, or I could just gun it and see whether it worked.
Yeah!
I decided to do the latter because the clock was ticking and that thing was going to melt. It was then or never.
I'm king of the world! Oh. Yeah!
I really like this story because it exemplifies what I like to see come out of Mythbusters.
We've got to keep it afloat!
And that is that we start with a simple seed of an idea that might be good or maybe not, but eventually we take it someplace that it's never gone before. And in this case, we were able to make a frozen speedboat. And it actually worked.
I don't want to get all misty on you, but it's a pleasure building strange crap with you.